Hello, I'm Craig Brelsford, and welcome to another episode of Small Stocks, Big Money. For those of you new to the show, RedChip is an investor relations, media, and research firm focused on emerging growth companies. Our unique platform combines global multimedia with traditional investor relations, reaching investors around the world. Now, today's show features interviews with the executives of two public companies. First up is Processa Pharmaceuticals. Processa is a clinical stage pharmaceutical company focused on developing the next generation cancer, or NGC, drugs with improved safety and efficacy. Processa's NGC drugs are modifications of existing FDA-approved oncology therapies, resulting in an alteration of the metabolism and/or distribution of these drugs while maintaining the existing mechanisms of killing the cancer cells. We'll learn more when we speak with the President of Research and Development and founder later in the show. Up next is 60 Degrees Pharmaceuticals. 60 Degrees Pharmaceuticals is a growth-oriented biotechnology company developing new therapies for vector-borne diseases. The company markets the FDA-approved anti-malarial Arakota, which is tafenoquine, and is advancing tafenoquine into new indications, among them babesiosis, a tick-borne infection with no approved treatments. We'll learn more when we speak with the CEO later in the show. Before we move forward, let's take a look at RedChat, a revolutionary chatbot for small-cap stock analysis.
A new era of small-cap research has arrived with RedChip's RedChat, the fastest, most accurate AI assistant for small caps. The days of spending hours sifting through press releases, 10Ks, 10Qs, 8Ks, 13Fs, 13Gs, and other filings is over. Now, get answers in seconds on 4,000 small-cap stocks in one portal. Simple, fast, accurate, detailed answers. Meet small caps with RedChat.
Now let's move on to our quote of the week. It comes from the book, Small Stocks, Big Money. The single most important way we attempt to manage risk in any environment is by seeking to buy stocks very cheaply. We never want to pay too much. This quote comes from Bill Hench of Royce Opportunity Funds, and it is featured in Chapter 3 of Small Stocks, Big Money, a book of exclusive interviews with some of the biggest players in the micro-cap space. Get a digital copy on Amazon today for just $18. Now, let's get started with our first interview today with Processa Pharmaceuticals. Hello, today we have David Young. He is the President for Research and Development and founder of Processa Pharmaceuticals, trading on the NASDAQ under the ticker PCSA. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Now, in a few sentences, what does this update mean, and why are you encouraged by the findings?
Well, the use of every drug for every disease is based on the balance between positive therapeutic effect of the drug versus the side effects of a drug. In cancer, patients and oncologists are willing to have more side effects and more severe side effects in order to obtain the positive effect of killing the cancer. We're excited about the preliminary findings of our orally administered combination treatment of 6422 and capecitabine in our phase 2 breast cancer study. And the reason is because our combination actually forms approximately 10 times more cancer-killing drug metabolites than the present existing monotherapy capecitabine, while decreasing the main metabolite that only causes side effects. That's a very positive effect. In the phase 2 study that we've reported on, the side effects from the cancer-killing drug metabolites are about the same as what has occurred with monotherapy capecitabine. The severity really has not changed much. What does this mean for cancer patients? Our combination treatment may be able to improve the patient response by killing more cancer cells, allowing us to treat more breast cancer patients who may presently not have another treatment option.
How has the study been designed, and what are the meaningful updates investors should be looking out for?
Well, this is a phase 2 study. And so what we're trying to find out is more about the safety and efficacy and appropriate dose to go forward into a pivotal study for FDA approval. All right. Now, what we have done is we have a formal interim analysis evaluating the safety and efficacy in approximately 20 cancer patients. This will be then followed by another regimen of the combination treatment added and additional patients added to the whole study to get the completed study. As we stated in our press release, our preliminary data review of the first 16 patients was positive, showing the potential for a greater cancer-killing effect while not increasing the severity of side effects. We expect that the formal 20-patient interim analysis to be completed in 2026, followed by the addition of the second group after that. The key to this is that the interim analysis will look at safety and efficacy, so we'll get a better handle on both.
David, describe for us first the current standard of care and then tell us what treatment could look like with the combination of PCS 6422 and capecitabine.
The standard of care varies with advanced breast cancer patients. It really depends on a lot of factors like the subtype of the breast cancer, the age, the general health of the patient. So it's hard to pinpoint what the exact therapy is. It's really patient dependent and cancer dependent. Chemotherapy like capecitabine is presently prescribed as for aggressive cases or cases where you need to really hit the cancer hard when other treatment fails. So it's not as easy as saying what do we use it for, what do we use in what situations. It's very broad. Given our preliminary results for our combination treatment, we believe, along with other oncology consultants, that our combination treatment could replace present capecitabine therapy if the clinical program demonstrates our treatment combination improves the efficacy. We've already seen similar or better safety, so now the question is the efficacy going to be better? And we think it will be. If the efficacy is better, our treatment profile will be the patients will be taking oral medication. Our drug is all oral. We'll be taking oral medication for 7 days, be chemotherapy free the next 7 days, and then repeat that cycle for about 6 to 12 months.
Let's turn now to a couple of questions about you, David. What is your background?
Well, it's a pretty broad background. I hold both a PharmD and a PhD, and I've been involved in chemotherapy drug development on and off for the last 4 decades, including involvement with capecitabine and 5-FU. 5-FU is the key metabolite of capecitabine that is the precursor to the biologically active molecules associated with capecitabine. In fact, back in the late 70s, when I first started working with 5-FU, I was asked by Dr. Charles Heidelberger, who developed 5-FU in the 50s. He actually asked me, could I change the metabolism of 5-FU to decrease the side effects and improve the efficacy? It's taken me 40 years to figure out how to do that. And I truly believe that 6422 plus capecitabine is the answer.
And how did you get involved with Processa originally?
Well, I've always believed that there's ways to develop drugs and get approval at the FDA if we take a more de-risked approach. And the de-risked approach that we tried to do in cancer was to take a drug that's already been approved that we know kills cancer cells, and then improve the fate of that drug once it's administered in the body. So when it gets to the body, it either may distribute more to the cancer cell or metabolize more to cancer-killing molecules, or it could decrease the metabolism to molecules that cause side effects or not go to tissues that cause side effects. So it's really improving the fate of the drug when it gets in the body. That's what we're doing. Not completely changing a molecule, not looking at a brand new drug. It's looking at a drug that actually kills cancer now and is used now, but optimizing how it's treated in the body.
David, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, to get more information on Processa Pharmaceuticals, visit pcsainfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. We also have a free weekly newsletter you can subscribe to at redchip.com, featuring emerging growth companies like Processa Pharmaceuticals. Watch this show again and explore hundreds of small cap stock videos on RedChip's YouTube channel. Also, go to our website and sign up on our events page for the webinar series. We have webinars every week, several a week, in which we feature small public companies, mostly our client companies, and you'll hear straight from the CEO and you'll be able to ask questions after that. Again, visit redchip.com and subscribe today. In addition to our newsletter, you can also order your copy of Small Stocks, Big Money, a book written by RedChip's CEO, featuring interviews with some of the biggest players in the micro-cap space. Order your copy on Amazon today for just $18. Before we move forward, let's take a look at RedChat, a revolutionary AI chatbot for small-cap stock analysis.
A new era of small cap research has arrived with RedChip's RedChat, the fastest, most accurate AI assistant for small caps. The days of spending hours sifting through press releases, 10Ks, 10Qs, 8Ks, 13Fs, 13Gs, and other filings is over. Now, get answers in seconds on 4,000 small cap stocks in one portal. Simple, fast, accurate, detailed answers. Meet small caps with RedChat.
Now, let's move on to our next interview today with 60 Degrees Pharmaceuticals. Hello, today we have Jeff Dow, the CEO, President, and Director of 60 Degrees Pharma. Jeff, great to have you today.
Craig, it's awesome to see you again, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Your company has a very clear mission, tackling infectious diseases with unmet medical needs. Let us start with a high-level overview for those hearing about 60 Degrees Pharma for the first time.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. So we're a small NASDAQ-listed company. We have a single approved product in the US market already. That's Arikayda for malaria prevention. And our short-term mission over the next 12 to 18 months is to essentially take the same dosing format of that approved product for malaria prevention and expand its use into tick-borne disease, and specifically a disease called babesiosis.
Jeff, let's look more closely at Arikayda. As you said, it is approved for malaria prevention. What about that market opportunity? How big is it? And what makes Arikayda unique compared to the other available products?
So, Arikayda is an acetaminophen. It was developed by the US Army before we licensed it in 2015. I was the commercial project leader that was successful in securing FDA approval back in 2018 for Arikayda. And it is a travel medicine product. And so during the pandemic, we did not do a formal launch. And so now, as travel's picked up again and things are moving forward, we're in the process of rolling out a commercial pilot project for Arikayda for malaria prevention. And what we're trying to highlight are the features and benefits of the product relative to the other generic alternatives that the CDC also recommends for malaria prevention. And specifically, its features and benefits include a very long half-life, so it can be administered once a week compared to daily. It is a broad spectrum of action product, so it targets all the different cycle stages of the malaria parasite in all parts of the world. And unlike the other products, there are no reports of any drug resistance associated with the use of Arikayda or tafenoquine for malaria prevention. And so those are its two key benefits. It's a weekly half-life drug. It can be used anywhere in the world. And that makes the product easier to use for both patients and easier to prescribe for physicians, because they don't have to spend hours reading through the full CDC guidance on all this complicated parasitology stuff.
Thank you for that, Jeff. I want to turn now to Arikayda's expanded indication for babesiosis. Now, many of our viewers might not have heard of babesiosis. Tell us about babesiosis. What is it? Why are there still no FDA-approved treatments? And why do you see this as such a significant opportunity?
Yeah, so babesiosis is a parasite like malaria, but the main difference is it's transmitted by a tick bite, not a mosquito bite. And the same ticks that transmit Lyme disease transmit babesiosis. So everywhere you see Lyme disease in the US, there's also the potential of contracting babesiosis, often as a co-infection. We think there's a under-recognized market in the chronic form of babesiosis. So where you have a persistent infection in someone with a dysregulated immune system, like a patient with long COVID or a patient with chronic Lyme disease. And the hypothesis in the practitioner community is that the presence of a persistent babesiosis infection prolongs your recovery time from those otherwise complex illnesses. And we think that the reason why there's no FDA-approved treatments for babesiosis is because for a long time, if you look at the CDC website, they only say there's 2,000 cases a year, relative to what's now believed to be, say, 500,000 cases a year of Lyme disease based on insurance claims. So I suspect that we are, in terms of the public appreciation awareness of babesiosis, like where we were with Lyme disease 30 years ago. And so we see an unexplored opportunity to meet a really compelling unmet medical need with ARAKODA potentially, once we've been through the appropriate clinical trials.
In your recent update, the first relapsing babesiosis patient tested negative on both Mayo Clinic RT-PCR and an FDA-approved RNA amplification assay after the tafenoquine-based regimen. Now, Jeff, what is the clinical significance of no detection here, and how does this compare with relapse patterns seen on conventional therapies?
So in the patient that in the first patient that completed our open label study in relapsing babesiosis, these are immunosuppressed patients. They've all failed prior treatment. In our study, they're on tafenoquine weekly plus standard of care. And the first patient who completed the full course is now cured of babesiosis. Current standard of care is you monitor them using a relatively insensitive RT-PCR assay. And clinicians assume when you get to a negative PCR that the patient is actually cured. But there's never been a definitive evidence produced of conventional therapy curing a babesiosis infection. And that's what we think we've done with this first patient, is the combination of tafenoquine plus other drugs cured a patient that previously failed all prior therapy. And we're hopeful that this is a signal of things to come in our future clinical trials on what tafenoquine can do.
You have now submitted a breakthrough therapy designation request for tafenoquine in babesiosis and plan a Type B FDA meeting in early 2026 to align on an sNDA path. Now, what is the evidentiary basis for the BTD request, Jeff? And how could BTD and that meeting shape your development and review timelines?
So breakthrough therapy designations are usually granted in the context of severe disease and an important new therapeutic intervention in a disease with that unmet medical need. In our case, this cure of the first patient really lines up with what the non-clinical literature has shown us and what the published Yale case series from 2024, where 4 out of 5 patients were cured with tafenoquine plus standard of care. And at some level, 80%, 90% is a very higher cure rate in a population of folks who have no other alternatives. So the question is, how many more cured patients do you need before reasonable people consider that you've proven or confirmed what the Yale team previously showed? And so that's what we want to talk to the agency about. We feel like in this first patient that's been through our trial, we've seen the outcome we expected. And now the question to the agency is, how many more patients should we be repeating this promising finding in before it's time to change the labeling and move forward with a new indication?
You have 3 babesiosis studies underway or planned, with remaining enrolled patients expected to complete between January and October of 2026, and initial data anticipated in the second half of 2026. Now, what are the key goals and endpoints across these trials, and how do you envision the data package supporting an NDA and your profitability goals?
So, of course, the first patient that in our expanded access study that I mentioned, tafenoquine seems to have eradicated infection in that patient. We're hopeful that the 3 clinical trials we do will demonstrate parasite eradication in 3 different patient populations, as well as the ability to provide clinical benefit in those 3 populations, all of whom have severe or disabling manifestations of the disease. We think that'll be really compelling to FDA and the community. In terms of the market potential, the chronic babesiosis study will show us that we can prove Babesia infection is present in patients with chronic disease, and it will prove that commercially available diagnostics can reliably pick up those same infections at a reasonable enough rate to convince stakeholders that there really is a market there to go after.
Finally, Jeff, what is the essential value proposition? Why should investors take an interest in 60 Degrees Pharma today?
So I often answer this question by saying that, we think we're the smallest NASDAQ listed company with an FDA approved product. And that highlights the opportunity and the risk. The opportunity being this is not our first rodeo. We've been to FDA before, where we have a clinical trial program that is expanding the indication for an already approved product. So it's relatively low risk and low cost. And the small market cap means that there's potentially a value opportunity there if we hit our clinical trial benchmarks and are successful in our interaction with the agency.
It's a great story, Jeff. Thanks for being here.
Craig, thanks a lot. It's always good to see you guys, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Now, to get more information on 60 Degrees Pharmaceuticals, visit SXTPinfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. We also have a free weekly newsletter you can subscribe to at redchip.com, featuring emerging growth companies like 60 Degrees Pharmaceuticals. Watch this show again and explore hundreds of small-cap stock videos on RedChip's YouTube channel. Also, go to our website and sign up on our events page for the webinar series. We have webinars every week, several a week, in which we feature small public companies, mostly our client companies, and you'll hear straight from the CEO, and you'll be able to ask questions after that. Again, visit redchip.com and subscribe today. In addition to our newsletter, you can also order your copy of Small Stocks, Big Money, a book written by RedChip's CEO, featuring interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Order your copy on Amazon today for just $18. Now, let's recap the companies we featured today. First, you met Processa Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, PCSA, on the NASDAQ. Processa is a clinical-stage pharmaceutical company focused on developing the next-generation cancer drugs, or NGC drugs, with improved safety and efficacy. Processa's NGC drugs are modifications of existing FDA-approved oncology therapies, resulting in an alteration of the metabolism and/or distribution of these drugs while maintaining the existing mechanisms of killing the cancer cells. Learn more at PCSAinfo.com. Then you met 60 Degrees Pharmaceuticals, SXTP, on the NASDAQ. 60 Degrees Pharmaceuticals is a growth-oriented biotechnology company developing new therapies for vector-borne diseases. The company markets the FDA-approved anti-malarial Aracoda, or tafenoquine, and is advancing tafenoquine into new indications, among them babesiosis, a tick-borne infection with no approved treatments. Learn more at sxtpinfo.com. Don't forget to check out our stocks page. It is the biggest small-cap stock portal in the industry. It has every company listed on the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange with market caps of $2 billion and less, and it's categorized by industry. Watch this show again and explore hundreds of small-cap stock videos on RedChip's YouTube channel, and be sure to sign up for our weekly newsletter and learn about a lot of small-cap companies. Also, go to our website and sign up on our events page for the webinar series. We have webinars every week, several a week, in which we feature small public companies, mostly our client companies, and you'll hear straight from the CEO, and you'll be able to ask questions after that. Again, if you have any questions about any of our public companies featured on today's show, call us at 1-800-REDCHIP or email us at info@redchip.com. In closing, remember, while small caps can provide significant gains, you must be prepared for the downside. Small cap stocks are among the most volatile of asset classes. Some of the companies featured on this show are RedChip client companies, and we may own stock in these companies. So please, always read our disclosures at redchip.com. Thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next week with some new, exciting, emerging growth companies.